Negro.
Here.
Metzinger.
Here.
Campbell.
Here.
Ray.
Here.
Kinney.
Here.
Poofall.
Here.
Brannick.
Here.
Stendor.
He has to be excused.
Thank you. Reamer.
Here.
Busse.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Vitek.
Here.
Huber.
Here.
Schultz.
Here.
Ader. Gary Ader. Mindel.
Here.
Murdig.
Here.
Ellefson.
Here.
Trudeau.
Here.
$17. Thank you. Okay, we'll have a moment of silence and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we need a motion to approve and adopt the agenda. Mr. Eamer?
Reamer, I approve it.
Mr. Eamer makes a motion. Is there a second? Mr. Metzinger?
I will second that.
Mr. Metzinger seconds it. Any questions, changes? It just, in case it isn't showing up under 4E, we're striking that from the agenda. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion
Aye.
carried. Public comment. Is there anyone here or anyone online? For public comment, anyone online or here? Public comment. Seeing or hearing no one, we will move to the regular agenda. We need approval of the November 20th, 24 County Board meeting minutes.
Dick Poofall, motion to approve.
Motion by Dick Poofall. Is there a second?
Brad Ray, second.
Brad Ray seconds. Questions, changes, corrections? All those approving the minutes of November 20th, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Resolution R02 2025-1494 Ashland County bead endorsement. Okay.
I'll make a
Norvato,
motion to approve.
just one moment.
One second, Dick. Is there, we have Norvato here. Is there anybody else to give a presentation? Sarah?
Okay.
Norvato.
Yep, if Norvato's here for a presentation, if you come to a mic and if you hit the middle button, that red light will come on.
All right, good morning. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. Happy to be in front of the Ashland Board on this chilly Tuesday. Here to talk to you a little bit about the BEAD program, which is the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Fund, which is making about $1 billion available here in Wisconsin. You'll see in your packet, as is up on the board here, just a short presentation. For those of you who aren't familiar with Norvato, we founded as Chequamegon Communications Cooperative based in Cable, Wisconsin. This is our 75th year that will be in operation. We have about 80 employees today, a lot of which live here in Ashland County, many in Bayfield, but we acquired Phillips Telephone in 2019, and this past year we acquired ChoiceTel in Eagle River. So we've been growing very nicely. We have a very robust fiber network, well regarded in our industry, and we serve Ashland, Bayfield, Douglas, Sawyer, and Price and Vilas counties today. And our minimum speeds today are 1 gigabit, and we also offer phone and television or video services as well on top of that. We're designed for 99.999% uptime. We have redundant paths to the world. It's something that we really pride ourselves on, is that that's how we differentiate ourselves from the big providers. And we have geo-redundant routes to our backbone and portable generators that we deploy should our batteries ever wear down. And most of our break fix is all done by local folks here. And we have an absolutely fantastic team of employees. And we do use an after-hours service, which is U.S. call-based. I know we hear a lot of complaints about folks calling India or what have you when you need service. But when you call us, you get somebody based here in the United States, and we're available 24/7. Restoration is actually a big deal to us, and if we have a cable cut, it's priority one to get that fixed. Most of the time, it's under 4 hours, although we have had some that go about 8. And at Norvado, we're very community focused. We have unclaimed capital credits from our cooperative that we use every year. This past year, we gave about $140,000 to the communities that we serve through a variety of different initiatives. So what is BEAD? Well, notwithstanding any changes at the federal level, and there's a lot going on there, we're going to be receiving $1.055 billion here in Wisconsin through the NTIA. And that first round of funding is now open. And we are planning on applying for a fair amount through BEAD. And the applications are due next week, actually, on the 25th, well, up until the 26th. Norvado has done very well. It's really funded a lot of our expansion efforts through the Wisconsin Broadband Expansion Grant Program. And I'm very proud for a company our size. We have won, since the inception of the program, over 5% of the total funds that are available. And that continues to help us build here in rural Wisconsin. So the next page in here, this is what we're proposing for BEAD. And you can see the map. We cover, it's about 83% of the county. It's going to be 1,977 households. And those BSLs, broadband serviceable locations, were determined by the PSC as far as who is eligible or what locations are eligible for BEAD. You can see on this map, the purple lines are where we have existing network. And so we've long had a relationship with Ashland County, and we serve a portion of it today, but we'd like to continue to serve additional portions of Ashland County. Eileen, which you'll see on the north end there, we're actually in phase 2 of construction right now on Eileen. And this would complete the build out for the town of Eileen, as well as numerous towns to the south. And I'm very happy to say that we've had very good support out of the different towns that we've contacted to support our application. The next page here just shows the towns that would be served with our proposed project. And again, it's bringing fiber to more of the Northwoods. And we've absolutely seen the benefit of that in the communities that we serve through whether it's second homeowners staying longer, tourism. We're very involved in our chambers of commerce as well as economic development, and we've seen the benefit that fiber can provide. So here today to ask for the endorsement of Ashland County. It's actually very important. This is probably the first grant that we've seen that is putting a fair amount of weight actually on the endorsement of the county and the towns that would be served by the project. And that would go a long way towards the scoring criteria that's going to be used for the project. And so asking for Ashland County to endorse us today. So with that, that's pretty much what I had, but open questions.
2 questions.
Sure.
One is I'll repeat myself from an earlier meeting, but we know that the money is to run the lines past the homes.
Yes.
Is Norvado going to charge to run from the line outside the house to the house?
No. Yeah.
Okay, so we want to make that clear.
Yes.
Once the
Absolutely.
line is run, the cost going to the house would be no charge.
Yep, the drop, what we call from the road to the house, that's all part of BEAD. Everything that's within those shaded areas would be served. No extra aid construction. And
Okay.
so that is part of the BEAD criteria that we're applying for.
Okay, and then the other question is, does Novato yet have like a breakdown, like depending on the type of contact you want? You know, you pay a monthly fee, we all
Oh.
do.
Mhm.
Does Novato yet have that kind of a breakdown for the different megs or whatever?
So different
gigabytes?
services like that?
Right.
We offer, basically we offer one speed today, and that's as fast as we can offer.
Okay,
And so what we do is we open our pipes up, and that's sort of to help us plan our network evolution actually, because as we move to 10 gig and we're already deploying 10 gig in some areas, we just bring that to the consumer. And
Okay.
so we offer one speed today. It starts at $99, but it gets cheaper if you add additional services to it. And so, for example, we give phone away for the most part with our internet service. That's something that you won't see with a lot of providers. And I think that's pretty important in our neck of the woods for 911 and things like that. But then you add TV to it, and the price of the internet actually comes down to about $60, $70 for 1 gigabit service, which is actually one of the cheapest in the state of Wisconsin.
good, thank you.
Mhm.
Gary, I wanted to ask, is there a length? You know, when you run a line to the house, is there a limit on the,
No, with fiber, it's different than copper. Copper, you have a distance limitation on it. Typically, once you get out beyond 5,000 feet on a copper line, your service starts degrading. With fiber, it does not. And so that light will transmit. We regenerate it at our central offices, but that light will go any distance that we're going to use.
so if I'm a quarter of a mile away from your line on the road,
Mhm.
that installation is part of the
Yes.
package?
Yep. And that's one of the big sticking points, actually. We have houses that we've talked to, or folks that we've talked to, that it could be $150,000 just to run down that 2-mile road to their house like that. But within BEAD, that's all covered.
Okay, Supervisor Negro, you have a question?
I do. Hi, Chad. Thanks for coming
Hey.
in.
You bet.
So a lot of my seniors through my aging, they have issues with not having internet. So is there a pricing package that might help people be able to afford something like this?
There is, actually, that's a great question. Part of BEAD is that we will commit to a low-cost option. And similar to what they have for Lifeline today, for folks that are low income, we're actually restricted at I believe it's a $40 price point, and we would offer that for 5 years as part
Okay.
of this. And
Sure.
again, that's part of the scoring criteria for BEAD that we do that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Supervisor Basset?
Is there any future hope for those parts of the county that are not already served or not proposed to be served by Novato?
That's a good question. We continue to build off of our network. And if you look at Bayfield County, Price County, and Eagle River today, it sort of creates a triangle. And I don't mind telling you, our long-term strategy is to fill that entire triangle. And so over time, frankly, we're limited by the funds that we have, but we continue to build off of where we have lines and where we have requests for service. And so I can't say when, but yes. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Is
So
there,
Supervisor Nick,
Yes,
can I ask? Okay. Thank you also for coming. And my question is, for weather-related issues, how is Novato, fiber optics, better than any other internet?
Oh, sure. Fiber is the one technology that absolutely scales. In other words, there's no speed limitation on fiber that we know today. They're actually testing it out. I find this really fascinating. They put the entire world's traffic on one single strand of fiber at a university, and it works just fine. The same fiber that we deploy in the market today. And so it's really the electronics that hang off the end of that fiber. That's what you need to continually change out. But the fiber itself is weather resistant, and you don't have the same issues that you do with power as on copper. and it'll continue to scale. So it really doesn't impact it that way. Satellite, for example, you run into clouds, you run into weather, those type of things. Wireless, same issue. You have line of sight type of issues, but fiber is widely regarded as being the one thing that you can put in the ground that we don't see a useful end of life for at this point. And that's why we continue to deploy it. And it is those electronics that are expensive. Just to give you an idea, over the next 4 to 5 years, we'll spend $7 million just upgrading those electronics. That's the most expensive part about it. And it's, once you have the fiber in the ground, that's great, but you have to keep maintaining it. So that's something that we're very committed to, and our board of directors is very committed to.
Thank you.
Supervisor Mindel?
Yes, when you say Ashland County, you know, and that, are you including all of Ashland County?
Only the portion that was on the map there, and maybe if you wanted to show that, those shaded areas would be where we would,
Yeah, I
you're looking
can't.
to apply.
That doesn't do me no good. Yes.
It should be noted, Bad River is also applying for their own BEAD grant through a different provider.
What was it?
That the Bad River is also applying through a different provider for a BEAD grant, which is separate. So that might impact some of you that are not viewed in here.
Okay, well, we're in southern Ashland County and Butternut. Is that part of that map?
Butternut, I believe, is just on the southern portion there. We actually have fiber into Butternut today.
I mean, I got a fiber
yeah.
at home.
Yeah.
Coming to my house. And I was lucky. They laid the line from Butternut out, and it's got power until you get to the town hall, and then it goes right down. But I was wondering if this is gonna run, if they're gonna run out in the country.
Well, is it included on that, in that portion there?
I can't make out.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll tell you what. Here.
Whereas in Ashland County is white. I don't know.
I believe Butternut is absolutely included in that area. You can see it on the next map, perhaps a little better.
Butternut's right down the road.
Well, then we're not included in it.
They're doing the blue.
Oh, they're doing the blue area.
Butternut's right down here. So there's only little tiny portions here we're not gonna get.
Well, that's forest, yeah. Okay, I don't, you need that back?
Nope, you can hold that.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Supervisor Negro, do you have another question?
Since Blake brought up that Bad River is also applying for this, is there anything that restricts us from supporting both of them?
It does not, and there is, I don't believe there's any overlap between, I don't know, to be honest with you, but I don't think there's overlap between Bad River. If the county the county can actually endorse 2 projects in the same area, but then it puts us on the same playing field. In other words, you don't really get extra points for it. It said everybody would be the same.
Okay. The other thing that I have is I would actually like to make the motion that we support Norvado in resolution number R02 2025-1494. Fill Norvado in those blanks, and I'm good with supporting them for this project. This is the kind of thing we need for our people who do not have access.
Yeah, Supervisor Negro, thank you. We're going to hold up on the motion. I'll come back to you in a moment because
All
we have
right.
to, because we have to find out if the other provider is even on the line.
Okay, that must be the person that's been emailing me incessantly, so.
Yes, thank you. Hold on. Do we know if?
I don't, is there somebody from Bertram Communications on the line? Is there somebody from Bertram Communications on the line?
Okay, hearing none, and thank you, Norvato, for your presentation.
Of course.
Supervisor Kinney?
How does this work, when you have different providers? You know, let's say you get this and you're Novato. In the city of Ashland, we have Charter.
Mhm.
And then there's all these other providers when we look at internet speed. So if you put this in for the county and we've got all these other providers to choose from, what are the rules on access to this fiber optic? So that if someone wants to switch providers from, say, Novato to something else, do they still get access to that line?
Well,
Is there a difference in cost? And then maybe related to that, what about net neutrality? Is that potentially a factor by having more providers in this?
Yeah.
Where somebody might drive up the cost to get through their portion?
Sure. Typically, every provider uses their own lines, and you can lease lines from another provider. That's how they might do that. But to the end customer, they would need that connection to that provider. So there really isn't, providers really don't use each other's lines, is what it comes down to. And this has always been the issue in rural America, is that it's very difficult to have multiple providers plowing fiber to homes when you have 2 to 4 per square mile at $70,000, $80,000 a mile. And so typically that's why there's only one provider in the most rural parts of the country. And so very similar to Ashland here, I sort of expect that's how it would go. In other words, if another provider built out this area, it's very unlikely that we would, because frankly, the business case is pretty bad. As far as net neutrality goes, we've made a statement, it's actually on our website, that we do not throttle or modify what customers are trying to access. So we do not do anything to restrict our customers. And that's why net neutrality has never been a big issue for us. I think some of the bigger providers are trying to limit some of that traffic. We've always taken the stance that we're not going to do that.
So let me see if I'm understanding what you said. If we go with a provider that has a footprint in this region, we reduce our risk for having a different provider here, potentially saying we're going to charge a fee or more to let Novato traffic move through our neck of the woods,
Right.
just because they own some lines. So would be reducing our financial risk
I think
by
you
having one
reduce-
provider versus multiple running through this.
Yep, I think so. And I think the reason that I mentioned our voice and our video as well is that I know a lot of providers are only offering internet today. And again, once you have somebody only offering internet to those houses, there may be no option in the future even for a voice connection. And so I think that's one of the things that we bring to the table. It's also that I like to look at it that Novato is based in this area. We're not looking to sell, we're a cooperative. And so as time goes on, we have a commitment to serving this area versus I think some of the other providers, whether they're national or regional, it's hard to say what's going to happen with them in the future. And so I think our localness is absolutely a benefit here in the Northwoods.
Supervisor Busset?
I'm wondering with this, this grant, what are the strings that come attached with it for Novato and for the county? What would be some of the major examples then?
Yeah. So I think BEAD has the most, if I can use the word hair on it, of any grant program that we've ever seen. There is a lot of reporting that needs to be done. You have a 4-year commitment in order to fulfill. And so you have to make sure that you come at it that way. There's a Buy American clause. We have to adhere to certain Davis-Bacon labor rules. There's performance bonding that we need to have in order to even enter the grant program. And so there's a lot of different obligations on us for applying for BEAD. We think it's still worth it, but there's a lot of hair on it. So,
Mr. Marty?
I have Starlink,
Hmm.
and it works fine, except the service part of it's a little lacking. But my question for you is, what timeline would you see from today till when you can hook a?
Well, we would
So-
start immediately because we have that four-year clock is ticking. I believe Ashland would be in the 2nd to 3rd year is how we've looked at it so far, but I can't say for sure, but I can absolutely tell you it'd be done within 4 years and to that whole area. So.
Okay. Yep, Mr. Huber?
Yes, if you do get this, how do you advertise to everybody that's that can then hook onto your internet so that everybody knows?
Yes,
How does
it's
that
actually
work?
another requirement of B is that.
Is
we
it?
have to
Oh, okay.
advertise. Yep.
Okay,
And
thanks.
we have to make it known to every person that's passed. Yep.
Okay. Seeing no other questions here or online, I will go back to Supervisor Negro.
Do I have to say it all over again?
It's all yours, Laura.
All right. I make a motion that we support resolution R 2025-1494 for Norvado. Like I said, I think this is what we need in some of these rural areas for us.
Happy to second.
Is there a second, Mr. Passay?
Second.
Mr. Passay seconds. Questions? Okay, the motion's been made and second to support resolution RO 2025-1494, the Ashland County bead endorsement in endorsing Norvado's application. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Norvado.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Next on the agenda is approve applying for a CDBG planning grant.
Okay, so this is not the first approval you're going to make. Next month, this is going to be an actual resolution. But we wanted to put this on here now, so we're not wasting our time with all the paperwork applying. So what the goal here is to get a CDBG grant, planning grant for updating our comprehensive plan. We estimate the plan update's going to cost about $75,000, of which CDBG will provide up to 50. So we'd like to get your approval to at least start the process. And I know Mr. Kinney and Mr. Busset might have some comments too.
Well, Mr. Busset is Chair of the Comprehensive Plan Update Committee, so I would ask that he speak.
Mr. Passay?
Sure. So the planning board committee has met, it's constituted, and we'll have another meeting this Thursday to get us going. UW Extension with guidance of Lisa Radke has been doing a lot of pre-work. So it's my intention that to come back to the board at each and every board meeting to give you an update on the status of the planning process. But right now, we need to get this this grant application underway to hopefully we have a financial support for the process over the next 2 years. So I would move to adopt this
Okay, Mr. Passay makes
proposal.
motion to approve. Mr. Kinney?
I'll second, and then I'll add a
Okay.
comment.
Mr. Kinney seconds. Questions?
On Thursday, I believe, is the Plan Committee meeting, and I would suggest anyone that's chair of a committee in particular, read that agenda. It's posted because Mr. Busset has a plan laid out, and it's going to involve more on the board than just the Plan Committee if that goes through. And Northwest Regional Planning, if that grant comes through, will be extremely helpful in helping us work through that process.
Mr. Passay?
Just to build out a little bit on what Pat's saying there, it's my intention that the committee, if the committee agrees, that we should request of each of the board's committees or the liaisons, which we have some board liaisons, that we go through our board members just to request or to see if there's any input from all these different connections that the county has. So for instance, the Airport Commission or the Land Conservation Commission, just that so the board is not left out of the process in giving any input that these committees or boards may wish to make to the plan. Not a requirement, but it's an invitation. And so that will involve each of us who are assigned to different committees.
Thank you. Any other questions? So there is a motion and a second to approve applying for the CDBG planning grant. Seeing no questions, all those in favor say aye.
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 Oppose? Motion carried. Motion or resolution RO2 2025-1495, approve public participation plan for CDBG grant. Would you want to explain that?
Yeah. All right, so as part of the CDBG grant, any CDBG grant, actually, you have to do a public participation plan. That plan is outlining how how the public can participate. This is the first step. We'll probably vote on this. Actually, we're going to be voting on a whole bunch of resolutions that we already voted on last time around, because you have to keep doing them each grant. But this is, the plan is attached also. It's below the resolution. There. So that's the actual plan, and that's how we go about with citizen participation.
Supervisor Vitek?
I move that we approve the citizen participation plan.
Mr. Metziger?
Second that motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve the resolution approving public participation plan for the CDBG grant. Questions? Mr. Kinney?
Just as an observation, at the very bottom of the resolution, if we can show that. We go to the very bottom of that. Notice, it ends with our clerk signing off there and that. And we see that on this resolution. I don't see it on, other resolutions. And it's just a question of why it's on this one versus not some others that we're going to be looking at. Does it normally go on the bottom of each resolution, so you would add it on the others then? All right, thank you.
Supervisor Negro?
I get it. You can call me Laura if you want to. Does this mean that we will only have group hearings for this, or will we have a committee by committee set of hearings for each item, I guess, or each group?
Well, the planning committee will have a group meeting, and we'll have meetings in other parts of the county too, to allow public input from other parts of the county. Each committee can attend or request their priorities be taken into account. This can be done at any time during the process, so you don't just get one shot. Your committee doesn't just get one shot; they can do it at any time.
Supervisor Massey?
Okay, Laura, as I understand this, I read through it pretty carefully. The planning committee has these requirements to give public notices and to allow some public hearings, which will be incorporated into the planning committee meetings. I think we're just trying to satisfy the requirement of the grant application in this resolution. And it doesn't mean that we won't solicit and look for input from all of the committees. But I don't read this as a requiring that other committees have hearings.
Okay, I didn't know if it was that it didn't, if this was the process, were the committees allowed to have a few public hearings, because there's might be specific input for each committee to taking us forward, so.
Hi, this is Erica Hanikel, the grant writer. I just wanted to clarify, this public participation plan is only for the grant application. So the plan itself has other participatory methods, but this is just the document that promises Decker, who oversees the CDBG money, that we fulfill what they need out of our grant application.
I really appreciate that clarification.
Okay, any other discussion? So we have a motion and a second to approve public participation plan for the CDBG grant. No other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carried. Next is Resolution R 02-2025-1496, resolution honoring Jerry Esela. Mr. Campbell,
Motion to approve?
is there a second?
Who say second?
Who is the second? Oh, Mr. Bissay. Okay. I want to just say something. I'm not dating myself, but I happen to be a county employee when Jerry was hired, and I got the chance to work with him in the Human Services Department. And over the years, I've asked Jerry for a few things when things have come up in other areas, and Jerry was always there to give his advice and help us out on questions that we didn't know the answers to. So I really appreciate the job and his years of service. So thank you very much, Jerry.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah, Jerry was always willing to go the extra mile. If you notice in the resolution, he actually planned to retire 4 years ago, and we had an opening for, he was just a social worker in the Children and Families Unit at that time, and we had an opening for supervisor of that unit, and so he agreed to stay on to take the role as supervisor of that unit. So his retirement has kind of been delayed by 4 years in which he planned to retire, but.
Good, thank you. So we have a motion and a second to approve the oh, Laura, sorry.
I just want to thank Jerry for his dedication and advocacy for the kids in Ashland County. I had told him also that there aren't enough words to express the passion that I've seen from him and how much he has pushed forward to make sure he does every single avenue that is best to give these kids the best chance that they can have. So I hope you have the most wonderful retirement ever. We're going to miss you, and I know you're the person that's taking over after you has that same kind of fire, but we'll miss you too.
Thank you, Laura.
This is Elizabeth Franick. I wanted to say too, thank you, Jerry, for your dedication and inspiration for this field of work you've done for the children of our community. I had a brief chance to be an intern in the Children and Family Unit, and I've seen it firsthand. Very good job. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Liz.
Mr. Metzinger?
I would like a copy of this resolution mailed to him once it's passed.
Good, thank you. Okay, so motion's been made and seconded to approve the resolution honoring Jerry. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jerry. Approved 2025 fire warden list.
This is a statutory requirement that we do every year.
Brad Ray will move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Ray, second by Rich Huber.
Huber will second this.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Appointment of a citizen member to the planning committee. Mr. Bissay?
So we've invited Charlie Ortman to become a non-voting member of the planning committee for a couple of reasons. He worked on the prior comprehensive plan when he was a member of the county board, and he sits on the Ashland City Council. So We don't know yet at this point in time whether he will be able to speak on that committee simply as a citizen member, or whether as the city of Ashland will enable him to speak in some points on behalf of the city. But it'd be exceedingly helpful to have him as a member of this committee, and I ask you to approve his appointment.
Mr. Kinney?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Mr. Passay, seconded by Mr. Kinney. Questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Approve master lease for the airport.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know why it won't save as just a document and has all the edits in it. Anyhow, this is the hangar lease, that master hangar lease that both the county and the city have to approve before it takes effect. This has gone through Corporation Council, which is why you see the edits in it. And it addressed some concerns the executive committee had. Namely, there was a section in about hangar construction and having to start with a start date. The concern was that if somebody rented a hangar in November and they had to get it done in 4 months, well, you can't build in December, January, and February. So they just wanted to make sure it was done within a year. So that reflects this. After we pass this, the city council's already passed it, so it should go back to the airport.
Questions? Otherwise, we need a motion. Mr.
Motion approved, Franek.
Motion by Liz Franek. Bill?
I have a question. Who actually?
Wait 1 second.
Oh, I'm not.
No
seconding.
questions until we get a second.
I had my hand raised.
I know, but you can't question it until you get a second. Is there a second? Okay. Mr. Emer seconds. Now, sorry, Bill, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Who actually owns the airport? Does the county and the city own it jointly? Or what is the ownership?
Yeah, the city and the county own the airport jointly, and it sits on city land. I don't know. Does that make sense? Okay.
Any other questions?
Microphone, please.
Sorry, Lori. So we have a motion and a second to approve the master lease for the airport. No other questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Reports and updates, Administrator?
Okay, couple things. As I mentioned, next county board meeting is going to be a vote-a-rama with tons of resolutions related to the CDBG grant. So that meeting is scheduled right now for March 26th. That's a Wednesday. And the reason why we have to schedule it right away at a certain time is because it needs a public notice. So we have to publish in the newspaper 2 weeks before the meeting, and it takes a week or more for the newspaper before they can publish. So we chose March 26th as a date. Some good news, unofficially, and we won't know until the audit is confirmed, but Mike and Steve told Finance Committee that we finished last year $200,000 in the black. That brings our total fund balance up to close to $2 million, which is kind of where we want to be. That basically want to cover what 50, you want to cover 15 to 30% of your average bills in a year, or budget in a year, and we are now within that margin. So that's good news. Mr. Passay went over the planning committee stuff. That'll be ongoing, going all year. Everybody's encouraged to take part in it, or just even if it's only a single part you're interested in. say you only care about the farming aspect. Well, actually, the farming plan is already being done by Northwest Regional. But say you're interested in the land conservation aspect of it, we would highly encourage you to take part of it. Or if you're interested in the transportation aspect or the housing aspect, we highly encourage you to take part in it. We will be sending notices to all the towns and cities and villages and all their elected officials to gain their input. Obviously, we can't force them to give us input, but we can certainly open the door and invite them. So we'll be doing that. And that's about all I got for now.
Okay. County Board Supervisor updates?
Can you turn your mic on?
Go ahead. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So, as everybody's noticed, and this is kind of a meals update. So everybody's noticed that Meals on Wheels is one of the big things and it's actually all the Older Aging Act funding. At the state level, so far, we have only gotten 25% of the money in for our federal contract. Usually they're making this, usually we've got a little bit more. The questions that I fielded so far are they going to take this funding away? It's on their plate of things to do. Do I think they'll do it this year? I don't. I'm trying to make plans for that. Talking with larger funders because that's a big piece of our funding. I mean, you guys give us a decent amount of match, but that's that's like the meat and potatoes part. I know this, if they do knock down or freeze those grants, and there is 2,600 grants that are on the list to be frozen. If you want to actually search for it, the easy way is to do a search online for New York Times 2,600 and freeze, and it brings up the article that lists them department by department. It is veterans grants. It is missing and exploited children. It is every education piece from K through college. It is probably some of the grants from Health and Human Services. It would be really nice to know what we're looking at so we too, as a county board, can prepare for this because if this goes through, it will hurt a lot. That's on that piece. The other piece is the Mellon site. I am working on it. I am not having the best contact with some people, but I have to try to plan with the most fiscally responsible site that I can come up with for that. So if anybody has any questions, please reach out to me. I will update you on what I've got going on. Because I keep hearing scuttle and I've never not talked with anybody about any of this. So I just appreciate the nod, but it'd be nice, like I said, for those grants that may get frozen or just not reallocated next year to have a plan for the county if we end up missing some of those things. It is every single program that you can think of from here to eternity.
Thank you, Laura.
Okay, I forgot one thing. Was it last week? Barb Beeksma turned in her resignation. She'll be retiring effective May 2nd. So her replacement will be appointed by the governor. And this is also the chance for us to start considering moving from an elected coroner to an appointed medical examiner. I can give you the one reason that scares me about an elected coroner more than anything is that if something were to happen to the sheriff, it's the coroner who takes over, and the coroner doesn't have to have any qualifications. So, anyhow, I just wanted to let you know Barb is fully in favor of going to ME and be willing to come to committees to start talking about it. But I wanted to let you know that she has resigned effective May 2nd.
Okay, any other county board supervisor updates? Hearing none, communications, none? Okay, just again, before we adjourn, the next county board meeting set for March 26th at 9 a.m. So we need a motion to adjourn. Yeah,
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Anderson makes a motion to adjourn. Second? Mr. Mindel seconds it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.